making headlines. The finance minister states that illegal issues have been identified in the systematic recording over the government's expenditures in the past few years. The economic minister reveals the government's goal of commencing operations of the Development Bank of Maldives within this year. And the environment minister states that the Maldives stands to gain financially if its natural environment is properly valued.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hafiz Abdusattar. And now the news in detail. Minister of Finance Musa Zamir discloses that significant and illegal issues have been identified in the systematic recording of government expenditures over the past few years. Speaking at a press conference held at the President's office, Minister Zamir revealed that the Ministry of Finance has halted the publication of the weekly fiscal development report due to the identification of very serious and illegal discrepancies in the recording of government spending. He emphasized that this decision aims to ensure that the nation's fiscal accounts are presented with accurate and valid information. Addressing the media, Minister Zamir noted that the current budget must account for unpaid bills from 2022 and 2023, totaling $162 million, which have been requested for publication. He mentioned that the ministry has referred these cases to the Auditor General's Office (AGO) for review, as there may be additional outstanding bills. Furthermore, the minister stated that a significant amount of $194 million has been disbursed from this year's cash flow, despite being included in last year's budget and not paid from the 2023 cash flow. During the press conference, Attorney General Ahmed Usham stated that the inclusion of these amounts in this year's budget was against the law. The Attorney General confirmed that the matters have been forwarded to the AGO and a report is expected within 2 to 3 weeks, after which appropriate actions will be taken based on the findings. Furthermore, Usham stated that the supplementary budget should also be used after requesting the Parliament's Budget Committee. He remarked that this practice has not been followed in the past 3 years, attributing the current financial challenges stemming from such illegal action. And now we'll take a short break for Isha prayers. Stay tuned.
मगमच सवाल को नुदुनु एमए फोन तिजहुनी मुळिमुन का बेंडेज वालाकन एक्सीडेंट तहुगा नुवदी है इनसे तमी हम मारवानी बोले लिबियानी अक्सर साइकिल दुबार हेलमेट वाला
मम्माती असली हिम्मगे दम्मरतिये अलिको दिंगमगे
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
حقوقنا ليست للبيع.
And the resumption of commercial activity.
ಹಫ್ತಾ ನಿಮಗೆ ದಾರು ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಮಶಹುದ ಎತ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಹಿಂಗಾಗಂದೆ
ತನತ ಹದಾಕುರ ಮಿಸ್ ಇಕಿ ಫಹಾರು ಇಕಿ ಗೊತ್ತ ಕಿತಂ ಅಡುತನೆ ನಿಗಿತು
ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಫೆಬ್ರುಗ ಬೊಡೆತಿ ಎತ ನಿಮ್ಮುಂತಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ
लुबनान बॉर्डर गातुगा यहूदीन गाम को फवात अफात की आबादी तक मीहू मुस्कुरांजे फवानी
तहुज़ीब मुंगना दुनियेगा मी मालूमात इंगु मुहिम्मु ಹಫ್ತಾಗೆ ದುನಿಯೆ ಹೊಣಿಹಿರು ದುವಹುಗೆರೆ 22 ಕಡಿ ಸುಮ್ಮಿನಟುಗ PSMNEWS
Welcome back to PSM News in English, and now we'll continue with the news. Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammad Saeed reveals the government's goal of commencing operations of the Development Bank of Maldives (DBM) within this year.
Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) issued the license required for the DBM on October 13th. The license was issued under the condition that DBM begins operations before October 12, 2025. The bank is 100% state-owned. MMA stated that the commencement of services from the DBM will play a significant role in enhancing the financial sector. In a statement, Minister Said stated that efforts are underway to recruit employees for the bank. The minister also disclosed that the government aims to ensure that the bank is operational before year-end. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announced the formation of the DBM on May 16th. The request to obtain the license required to create the bank was submitted to MMA in July. The government decided to establish the DBM such that it aligns with the government's strategic policies. Its primary objectives include funding infrastructure projects, investing in sustainable economic and social development, and addressing the challenges associated with financing public sector investment program (PSIP) projects through syndicated financing. Additionally, it seeks to promote greater retention on foreign exchange within the nation's banking system, fostering economic stability and growth. The DBM will play a pivotal role in enhancing the financial system and facilitate essential development funding in collaboration with international and other financial entities and investors. Key objectives for the development bank include reducing wealth disparities, improving housing, alleviating the state's debt burden, and revitalizing underdeveloped areas. The bank will provide not only loans but also equity financing, fund syndication, and risk insurance. Focusing on 5 priority areas: energy and food security, housing, environmental protection, tourism, and marine economic activities, the Development Bank is poised to play a vital role in securing financing for various industries.
Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy Tariq Ibrahim states the Maldives stands to gain financially if its natural environment is properly valued.
Speaking at a press conference, Minister Tariq announced that the government has initiated efforts in natural capital accounting, with ongoing projects in Lam Atoll expected to be completed in the coming month. The minister highlighted that these efforts focus on 3 main areas: valuing coral reefs, seaweed, and wetlands. While currently centered on these 3 aspects, he noted that there are plans to include marine life and other environmental resources in future assessments. Highlighting that the works of natural capital accounting is prioritized by President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, Minister Tariq outlined plans to expand this initiative in various parts of the country. The minister noted that this initiative will help in determining the value of environment. He pointed out that despite widespread acknowledgement of the Maldives' abundant environmental resources, none of these have been properly valued. However, the completion of this initiative is anticipated to facilitate a clearer understanding of environmental value, ultimately benefiting the nation financially. While the Maldives is currently working on natural capital accounting, United Nations and UNDP Regional Director for South Asia and the Pacific, Kani Wiganaraja, has remarked that leveraging the natural environment could significantly improve the country's financial situation.
Ministry of Climate Change, Environment and Energy amends the regulation on control of international trade in endangered species and registration of traders and goods, imposing a fine of $1,945 on individuals importing endangered species without permits.
Under the regulations, the import, export, and re-export of endangered species are strictly prohibited. A fine of $1,945 will be levied for each species imported unlawfully. Additionally, the import, export, and re-export of products derived from or comprising parts of endangered species are also prohibited, with a fine of $648 imposed for any such unauthorized activities. Moreover, the ministry has declared that the unlawful possession of endangered species for personal reasons is prohibited. Such species may not be sold, exhibited, or displayed publicly. Individuals engaging in these actions will incur a penalty of $648. The ministry further indicated that violations of permit conditions or registration requirements are not allowed. A fine of $324 will be imposed for the first violation, $648 for the second, and $1,297 for the third. For any violations beyond the third occurrence, a fine not exceeding $3,242 will be applied for each violation. The government has established guidelines outlining the necessary actions for individuals who import such species without authorization.
Governor of Maldives Monetary Authority MMA Ahmad Munawar underscores the crucial significance of the newly introduced foreign currency regulation in enhancing the operations of the banking system. He made the statement in a panel discussion held in the Maldives National University MNU.
During the discussion, senior officials from MMA provided information on the new foreign currency regulation and the money exchange regulation. MMS Governor Munawar noted that while $4.5 billion flow into the Maldives each year, the central bank receives only 23% of this amount through taxes and other sources. He indicated that the overall demand for the Maldivian currency, rufiya, would be augmented by reducing the quantity of dollars that do not enter the banking system. He explained that this was one of the reasons for the new regulations being introduced. Although these regulations have been approved and welcomed by businesses, Munawar mentioned that many have sought clarification on the procedures for depositing and exchanging funds in the banks. In response, the governor revealed that local banks are not capable of issuing dollars sufficient to meet the demands of the tourism sector and must resort to borrowing from foreign banks to fulfill these needs. Furthermore, Munawar disclosed that while $4.5 billion enters the Maldives annually, $2 million has been collected in the banking industry of the Maldives. He expressed optimism about improving banking operations if a greater volume of foreign currency were to enter the system. According to the new foreign currency regulations issued by MMA, all tourism facilities registered in the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority (MIRA) are mandated to regulate their incomes via the national banks. Additionally, resorts and safaris are required to exchange $500 per head through local banks, while guest houses are required to exchange $25 per guest. While MMA has imposed these regulations, it has given a 3-month grace period for businesses, aiming not to burden the businesses.
Deputy Governor of Maldives Monetary Authority MMA Ahmad Imad reveals efforts are underway to draft a regulation pertaining to asset-backed online money. He made the statement while speaking at the panel discussion held at Maldives National University MNU. MMA has been asserting several efforts to digitalize the financial system. Under these efforts, it has successfully established a system in which funds can be transferred within banks in a span of a few seconds. MMA's Deputy Governor Imad stated that while the Maldives instant payment system FAWARA is already connected with several banks, efforts are ongoing to incorporate additional banks into the system. Emphasizing the increasing global demand for digital money, Imad indicated that the MMA is collaborating with the Capital Market Development Authority (CMDA) to develop a joint regulatory framework for the introduction of asset-backed online money in the Maldives. He also mentioned that the MMA supports the use of unbacked cryptocurrencies by individuals. Cryptocurrency is a digital currency that operates independently. It is not widely accepted by many banks globally due to its lack of backing by tangible assets or currencies issued by central banks. State Electric Company Limited Stelco commences the upgrading work of the electricity networks in Male City. In a social media post, Stelco confirmed the commencement of these upgrade works, which aim to enhance electricity services in response to the increase in demand during the peak season with high temperatures. As part of this initiative, Stelco has removed the existing 630 kVA transformer located at the intersection of Majidi Magu and Sosam Magu, replacing it with a 1500 kVA transformer to boost the substation's capacity. Additionally, the company has outlined various plans to expand the distribution network's capacity to better meet residents' needs. While Stelco is asserting efforts to provide adequate services in the city, It has recently entered an agreement with China's TBEA Group Company Limited to conduct preliminary studies prior to establishing a 150 megawatt power plant and the installation of a high-capacity transmission line. Stelco stated that the power plant will be established in Tilafushi, with the practical works also contracted to the TBEA Company Group. The organization noted that the power plant will serve as a central facility to substantially increase power generation capabilities, ensuring a stable and reliable energy supply. The power plant will utilize oil and gas to produce electricity and will serve not only Male City but also Hulmale, Vilimale, Tilafushi and Gulifalo. French workers at Sanofi strike to protest a planned sale of a pharmaceutical group's consumer health arm, adding to complications around a deal estimated at around $16 billion.
The call to strike was made jointly by the CGT and CFDT union, the two largest at Sanofi. Outside the site of Compiègne, a 2-hour journey north of Paris, strikers were gathered outside the plant's gates. CFDT union coordinator Adil Bensetra said that Doliprane must stay in France and it belongs to the French. The coordinator said that there should be rules today to protect French and European citizens. Sanofi is the maker of one of France's most sold painkillers, Doliprane. Sanofi said last week it had entered into talks to sell a controlling 50% stake in its consumer health business Opella to US private equity firm Clayton Dubilier and Rice a year after flagging that it was looking at options for the business. But the deal has become a political issue after politicians raised concerns about potential job losses at the business known for producing the Doliprane painkiller popular among French households. Other critics of the deal have said that the company could cede control of strategic assets despite pledges made by the government during the COVID-19 pandemic to restore self-sufficiency in healthcare. Economic Minister Antoine Armand said that the French government will need guarantees that production of Doliprane will stay in France to allow the sale of Sanofi's consumer health branch to go ahead.
A delegation of Arab ambassadors to the United Nations stresses the dangers of a large-scale genocide in northern Gaza based on reports that Israel intends to seal the area by declaring it a military zone.
Riyad Mansour, the permanent observer for the State of Palestine to the United Nations, said that whoever remains in North Gaza is a military target, which means that if that is to be implemented, then there is a danger of seeing larger number of extermination of Palestinians beyond and above what happened during the first year. Mansour ordered the United Nations Security Council to adopt a resolution that calls for an immediate ceasefire. He added that a country that behaves in such arrogance and disrespect to its obligation under the Charter of the United Nations does not deserve to have a seat in the General Assembly. Residents said Israeli forces had effectively isolated the far northern Gazan towns of Beit Hanun, Jabalia, and Beit Lahia from Gaza City, blocking movement except for those families heeding evacuation orders and leaving the three towns. They said communications and internet services had been cut, disrupting rescue operations. According to Gaza's health authorities, more than 42,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's offensive so far.
Jorge Martin of a Prima Pramac Racing led from lap 1 to win the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix Sprint, stretching his World Championship lead over 2 times MotoGP champion Francesco Bagnaia.
Chasing a first MotoGP title, the Phillip Island pole-sitter continued his flawless Saturday to extend his advantage in the championship standings over reigning champion Bagnaia to 16 points. Martin will have the opportunity to stretch it even further in Sunday's race.
Today's race was fantastic. I felt really good. I was really relaxed before the race. Everything under control for sure. With Mark behind me and without his mistake in first lap, would have been a different race. But I think both of us will have much more pace than the others. I hope that tomorrow we can pull away maybe, or at least battle with him till the end.
6 times MotoGP champion Marquez dropped several places before riding his Gresini racing bike with purpose to come second. Italian Enea Bastianini finished third to complete an all Ducati podium and secure his 4th successive sprint podium. Marquez and Bastianini are now level on 320 points, only behind leader Martin and second place Bagnaia. Having qualified 5th, Bagnaia made up a place to secure a 4th spot ahead of fellow Italian Fabio Di Gianantonio. While the front grid was mostly quiet during the 13-lap sprint with Martin never looking in trouble after a terrific launch, there was plenty of action behind. Marek Vinales and Marco Bezzecchi went down after a huge crash into turn 1. Red Bull Gas Tech 3's 20-year-old rookie Pedro Acosta also crashed out. Spain's Fermin Aldeguer of Beta Tools Speed Up was fastest in Moto2, qualifying while another Spaniard, Ivan Ortola of MT Helmets, MSI, topped the leaderboard in Moto3.
A short story by Bram Stoker, the legendary author of Dracula, has been unearthed by a lifelong enthusiast in Dublin who stumbled upon the work while browsing in a library archive.
Titled Gibbet Hill, the story was uncovered by Brian Cleary in a Christmas supplement of the Dublin edition of the Daily Mail newspaper from 1890 and had remained undocumented for more than 130 years. The rare find, which has never been referenced in any Stoker bibliography or biography, is now being brought to the public for the first time at an exhibition in the Irish capital. Dracula, the Gothic, mysterious and supernatural vampire novel from 1897, may have been set in Transylvania and England, but its author Stoker was a Dubliner. Cleary, 44, a writer and amateur historian who lives in the Marino neighborhood of Dublin, where the author grew up, said that he read the Dracula as a child and it stuck with him, adding that he read everything from and about Stoker he could get his hands on. In the casino at Marino, an opulent 18th century building near the writer's birthplace that is hosting the exhibition, Cleary said that thanks to Dracula, Stoker had a massive impact on popular culture but is underappreciated. Cleary's journey of discovery began in 2021 when a sudden onset of deafness changed his life. While on leave to retain his hearing after having cochlear implant surgery, Cleary visited the National Library of Ireland to indulge his interest in historical literature and the works of Stoker. There, in October 2023, he chanced upon the hidden literary gem, the Gibbet Hill story, which he had never heard before. Cleary did extensive literary researches to verify the find and consulted Stoker expert and biography Paul Murray, who confirmed the story was unknown, lost and buried in the archives for more than 130 years. Murray said the Gibbet Hill is very significant in terms of Stoker's development as a writer. 1890 was when he was a young writer and made his first notes for Dracula.
And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant time ahead.
relax mind fresh way
abadu mehe nukume duwe hedi me alunge immune system se bawarugada ve
යාගටන් එනීම එමිහ මජබූරුවාන දැන් හිබ්බර කොප්පගේ සකම් පුරා
මිතන ආදෝනේ වෙන් ඔය දෙහෙ තංගොල සිඳේ
පාකිස්තානමාද කොල්ලෑන් හෙදුණු ගඩීක ඒ එම්ම රංගලු ගඩි ඒ ගඩි පස්සේ සේපා අනෙක්ක මාහොල්ද ස්ටංගලවන්නේ